episode of The Proud Steelworker. Today we get an opportunity to talk with Jeffery Williamson. He's a CNC operator in Nebraska. Jeffery, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Good to be here.
First things first, before we jump into the podcast and kind of get into some questions today about the relationship between the operator and the maintenance team and just how valuable that relationship is. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, where you're from, where have you been, what type of maintenance have you been in, or operations have you been in? I apologize. Tell us your story.
Well, my story is kind of simple. I didn't know that travel jobs were available. Ran into a little tragedy in my life, and then somebody said this was available. And so I started traveling on the road about 10 years ago. I used to travel around building Walmarts and other, in construction and all that as a journeyman carpenter. Then I got into machine operation, and I ended up with as CNC. And CNC, where CNC Operator is what I like the best. It allows me to use my brain instead of my hands and back and muscles all the time. So that's pretty much it. My mother don't like me traveling on the road so much, but being by myself now, empty nest, is what I love to do. Different cities. And that's it.
What's your favorite place you've traveled to?
Okinawa, Japan.
Ooh.
Okinawa, Japan.
I spent some time in Okinawa when I was in the Marine Corps. It's a beautiful place, a lot of fun stuff. Very culturally different than the United States. So for people who like, hey, Semper Fi, devil, you get it. Yeah. For me, it was a beautiful place, but it was different than I thought it would be, which I thought was, it was an awakening experience for me where I was like, oh, I don't have it all figured out.
Right.
I'll just go home now. So really cool. What is your least favorite place you've been?
Least favorite place I've been was probably Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham, Alabama. I went to school down there. So probably my worst place to go,
I wasn't going to make you say why, but I appreciate you letting us know.
Yeah, okay.
So as your career has progressed and as you've gotten more into the operator side and the CNC side and kind of found this niche where you get to use your brain instead of your brawn, what's been the most challenging part of your career?
Well, I'm aging. So I'm 61, about to hit 62. And so the most challenging part of my career is just taking care of my body, especially when you're pumping out 60 and 70 hours a week. Just have to stay fit, take care of your body. And hopefully when your brain tells your body to get out of bed the next morning, it'll do it. And that's about it. So just taking care of my body is the most challenging thing that I have before me now. And that's it. That's it. Nothing work really.
Any tips you have for people? I mean, you're not the only one in your situation. Let's not pretend like we're all going through this alone. Any tips?
Well, it's dedication. You don't have to, I used to listen to people talk about dieting and all this stuff, but I cut out soft drinks, cut out French fries, and that kind of did the trick. And you can see yourself, that's like a devil in disguise. You just don't know. It tastes good going in, but it has effect over the long run. So if you get rid of the right foods and eat the proper foods, you'll be great. That's it. You'll be great. No gym membership needed if you do that. And that's all.
I'm going to get on board with the soft drink thing. I don't know how you give up French fries. French fries are delicious. That's too much.
Well, when you 1 point from being a diabetic, you have to go the other way or you're taking insulin. So I had to go the other way.
All right. Your health comes first. Taste can go away. All right, Jeffrey. So let's get into this. CNC operator. You work every day inside of a facility. You said anywhere between 60 and 70 hours a week. How much time do you spend in front of your machine?
All but about 45 minutes to an hour. All of it. Nonstop. They say you don't make rate unless your doors are shut. And so your doors in the machine got to be shut. Every time they open, you pull it out, put another one in, and wait. And that's all. So all the time is spent there. All of it.
That's right. And when your machine's not running right, how long does it take you to realize that?
Right away, actually. All the alarm bells and stuff on these machines nowadays, it's right away. And it helps to have some kind of knowledge on how to fix it yourself. And I fix a lot of stuff myself because they're very short-handed on the maintenance side. And they only come out when it's like dire need. Other than that, it's supervisors trying to help you. But mainly I probably do about 80% of it myself, getting the machines up and running, about 80% myself. And that's all.
Talk to me about your big three. Like, what are the big three things that go wrong to cause most of those? I mean, every machine's got their three things.
Well, CNC machines have inserts, different inserts for different parts. Some of them are made for hard turns, which means after the part's been heat treated, you got hard turn inserts. They break a lot, it seems like. So when you pull a part out, you take it through the measurements, and sometimes you don't even know that the insert is broken until the measuring gadget gadgets don't work, or they throw your parts way off. And when your parts way off on the measuring, you try to get it right in the next 2 or 3 parts, because those 2 or 3 parts are scrapped if you don't. So you just try to get it right. So the big thing is just watching your inserts and watching your measurements, the gauges. When you pull the part out, make sure it's up to specs according to the client who's receiving the part on the other end. And that's also, that's probably one. The other thing is that's big in my area, my cell too, is the lubricant, the coolant and the lubricant. You got to keep those levels up. There's one alarm on it, and that's when you totally run out. And then it costs you time when it's out. You try to push the buttons to get the machine to start. It says low lubricant, which means none. And you have to pull the shelf off, take a panel off the machine, unhook the thing, go get the lubricant, put it in. It's a lot. So if you forget to do that at the beginning of your shift, or the last person who's passing it on to you doesn't do it, then it can cause, you can lose a half hour in time. So that's that. And then the last thing I would say probably doesn't have much to do with the parts. The machines itself is the supply of parts. Sometimes they get stuck and heat treat or broaching or some other area of the building, they don't have the parts to you, and they say, okay, go over there and help them, or go help them. Nobody wants. I mean, when you got 2 machines, you got a system. Putting a third wheel in there to run a second machine, it just throws everything off. And so you want your parts, a good supply of parts when you go in. And so that's pretty much my 1, 2, and 3.
No, I love it. It's interesting that all 3 of those are essentially unrelated if we look at it. So the first one you talked about is essentially the machine itself made an error. Something broke in the machine, something happened. The second one is yourself or another person made an error or forgot something, which causes your machine downtime, and you 30 minutes. And for those of you who don't know, 30 minutes of downtime is a lot of downtime on a production and manufacturing floor.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of product not moving. So when we look at product, remember, it's on a conveyor, it's moving forward always, always, always. So when you have part of that process stop working for 30 minutes, there's a buildup, which then will impact those pieces behind it. So that's the second one that you mentioned. And then the third one is if there's essentially a breakdown at the previous stations, you're pulled back to then be a part of that. So, hey, you don't have any product? Good. Take 2 steps back and help them make some.
Right.
So
those are their numbers, not your numbers. That's their numbers.
That's right. So the one I'm most curious about is, as you get into this, which one do you think you as an individual and every operator should own the most? Which one do you think you go, hey, some of these things I can't do anything about, but this is a thing I can always stop?
Well, we got a thing we wear on our name tags. It's, I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not on quality. No matter what goes on, you have to put a good part in the box or on the tree. You have to put a good part. So everything works towards that. All those things I talked about can go towards messing a part up. You got to put a good part in the box to send it out. You don't want part coming back from the client, because they have formal complaints when stuff gets to them. Through all the checking that we do, a bad part can still get out the building. I don't want that coming from my sale. And so the whole thing is about putting out a good part, no matter what it is. Whether you have the right part, the right inserts, the right settings, the right program in the machine, everything's big on putting the right part out the door. And that's what I do. So that's what I like.
I think that's crucial. And I think, in the world today, that's something that people have forgotten. Is that word quality. You talked about quality and you talked about individual ownership on your line. And sure, a whole lot of things can happen that you don't have any control over. But what you do have control over is the quality of a product you as an individual produce or you as an individual approve. That for me speaks volumes to industry after industry that devote their life to quality products versus quantity. Like, you can make a lot of something, but is it good? Or you can make a lesser number of higher quality, and that higher quality team will always perform better. So when you're looking at your team and when you're looking to be a part of a team, what's the number one indicator in your mind of a high quality team?
A high quality team? Well, I think the number one thing is a person who's well trained. You'd be shocked to know how training, it just appears to be not high on the agenda in a lot of places you go. And in fact, I've been to places that a week later, they want me to train the new person coming in. I've been there 1 week. It's just not good. So a highly trained person can help you. In fact, a lot of times they know some stuff that you may not know. You got to keep the machines open or running. You got to keep them producing parts. And so a highly trained person can look at specs, help you with that when you have an issue. You know, it's just teamwork. You have an issue, you can help them with the issue. They can help you with the issue, but highly trained, myself and anybody who comes around me. And that's all the way up from management, all the way down to the person who's just walking in, learning. They've been doing it 1 year or 2 years or something like that. But you got to train people well. That's going to work out that's going to get you a long way in this business if you're well trained. If you listen to the training they give you, and then you pick up stuff along the way that they don't train. So that's a big deal for me.
I love that you talked about training like an ongoing evolution. You talked about it like, hey, every day you're going to learn something new. You'll hear something. You're going to get better every single day, because a lot of people look at training as an event that has a benchmark or an endpoint. So, hey, I did my 2 weeks of training. I'm ready to go. Sure, you did, and you could do the job. But in reality, you're training from now until you leave your job. You're learning something new every day. You're getting better at it every day. So how do you encourage others around you to focus on training? It's a huge piece for you, as you just said. So it's something you're always looking for. How do you encourage those around you who have been either disheartened or disengaged or just, kind of flippant about, well, I don't really want to train. I just want to sit here and do my job. I don't want to learn anymore. What's your engagement like with those people?
Well, my engagement is simple. I see you can tell what they know by how they work when they're alongside of you. You can tell what they know. And somebody who's coming, there's two types of people that you can look at. The person that's coming in to just get a check at the end of the week, and the person who's coming in because they look at it as a career and things like that. If you look in this place I'm at, there are guys, they have 107% turnover. That's rough. So you got a whole bunch of people who've been there 15, 20, 30 years, and then a whole bunch of people have been there 6 months or less. So there's not a lot in between. So when I come across somebody comes to my cell to work with me, or I report at the first time, you just watch. People will let you know what they know real quick by taking shortcuts. You shouldn't take shortcuts, especially what we do. They take shortcuts, or they don't do something properly, or the big thing is they say, well, we'll let that pass. We'll let that go, even though it doesn't come up to specs. It's close enough, things like that. So training is big. And how I would encourage anybody for training is I would only do that if it looks like I loved it right away, CNC Operator. I loved it right away. And you can tell. The level of dedication I have is something. When I run into somebody like that, it's training available 24 hours a day, online and there. And it's so easy. Just open up a book or open up a video and learn something new. And so you have to tell them, hey, let's get this done. Let's get this done. Especially if they want to come up and get to another level up, go from CNC operator to a machinist or even somebody that knows how to fix them. I would love to be on that side of the house instead of working with machines, be one of the people, because they are much needed to come around and do more detailed fixing work than we can do, taking stuff apart, fixing the inside of it and putting it back together. We don't get a chance to do that too often, and that's it. So training is important. Keep learning, and you'll go straight to the top here. You'll go right around people if you're learning, right around people, because a lot of people aren't learning, and that's it.
You talked about those maintenance teams coming in and doing the break fix jobs and doing all that stuff as something you look at as something you want to thrive for, and something you want to move into, or something you admire. Are you sitting around are you engaged with them while they're doing maintenance on your machine? Is that something that you're afforded the opportunity to do of, hey, I want to shadow this person while they fix my machine, because next time maybe I can help, maybe I can be a part of that. Is that an opportunity you're afforded?
Yes, a lot. Like for instance, they just renewed my contract on December 24th. It was over. They renewed it another 6 months or so to June. In the process, they was trying to get me switch over to the maintenance side, because I do have some background in that. They was trying to get me to switch over to the maintenance side. But I hate to say why I chose to stick with what I'm doing, It's because when you don't have enough people in that field, and I applaud them for trying to recruit over sideways, get people inside the building and switch it over like that. But we're backed up as well. But the maintenance people down there, they're always constantly busy. These machines are old. They're constantly busy. But when they come over there, I watch everything. You don't take a screw out without me over your shoulder looking at the house. And there are some things they tell you, we have lockout procedures where you lock out stuff before you do things. But there are a lot of stuff that I believe I could do to fix machines, but they won't allow you to open up a panel or anything like that, because I've seen it 100 times. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it 100 times. And so once I see it, if you show me something 2 or 3 times, you don't even have to come back. But they don't work like that. You have to call a maintenance person for a certain maintenance level thing. And so as much as you want to, you got to hold back. But yes, I look over the shoulders of everything they do. Every single thing they do, I look over their shoulders. So if I decide to go that route, I can go that route if I wanted to. And that's it.
I love it. I think that's crucial to have those opportunities to look into, hey, this is a career path I'm interested in. It's unfolding right in front of you. Watch it. Because we hear stories all the time. People are like, man, I really wish I could do that. Or while you're shadowing it, nah, I go on break whenever it happens. Well, then it's not something you're passionate about. Jeffrey, I think you're doing all the right things. You're taking the steps. You're getting into the CNC side again, and now you're like staring down the barrel of maintenance, and you're like, man, this seems really cool. I really like this idea of taking something broken and fixing it and making it work and being a part of that. Now, to your point, there's definitely a shortage. So there's no secret that there's a lot of hours and there's a lot of work and there's a lot of things being done in maintenance because there's just not enough people. But I always encourage people, the only way to fix that problem is people to get into that environment. So yes, it's a lot in the beginning, but it tapers down if we do our jobs and if we get people into those facilities. So I think you're doing all the right things. Jeffrey, any last questions for me? I'm going to turn it over to you. I have a question I like to ask you. I like to open the air for everybody who's on the show. But any questions for me? Anything you want to add that we talked about today?
Well, that we talked about, of course. I think that if anybody's interested in the field of CNC operator, I think it's a great career choice. All the guys I work around have been there multiple years. I'm talking about double-digit years, 10 plus years. They all love it. They look at these machines. As I was explaining, I work with a guy named Mike. Well, I worked with somebody who had something to say about something. I said, look, you got to understand, these cats who've been here a while, they see these machines as their children, and they see the parts as their grandchildren. It's that important to them. When they come in, they want these parts right. And when I remember one time I took a part out of a box, and I said, I was in the wrong box. I kind of flipped the part of the box. First, I said, hey, don't throw that in the box. It might break. And I'm thinking metal, and I threw it on cardboard. But that's the way it is. It's like children of the machine. Parts of the grandchildren. You can get caught up like that. When you caught up like that, it's a joy coming to work. It is. That's kids and grandkids. It's a joy coming to work like that. So anybody interested in this field, it's definitely a worthy field to get in, because you feel like you've done something. You need it, you appreciate it, and you did something towards the greater good to somebody else or something else, some other kind of industry. And it's a great field to be in. So I love it.
Man, that's so important. Finding something you're passionate about that you can pour yourself into that matters to you. And everyone's different. So everyone's passion is different. Everyone feels differently about things. So to your point, Jeffrey, if anybody is out there looking to get into the CNC roles, there's probably millions of them available. I haven't done them. I don't know the stats. There's a lot available across the country. Jeffrey, real quick, drop some information on them. How do you get into CNC? Is it on-the-job training? Is there a course they can go to? What's your recommendation?
Right. Most people want to get into CNC because they see it. It's not something that people they sit at home and say, I want to do CNC. They see it somewhere and they say, what is that? And then they're told that it's CNC. They're asked about something in the CNC field. They just don't sit at home and believe that they want to do CNC. They never heard of it, right? I didn't hear about it till I seen it. And I said, what is that machine over there? I want to do that. It looks pretty cool. But if anybody wants to do it, if they see it, ask the person who's operating machines, say, how do I get involved with that? And I haven't met an owner doing it. So the person working with it will be happy to put you in front of the person that hired them or a team person at their employment site. And they'll be happy to, talk to you about it, test you on it, tell you what you can do to get ready to come into it, because it's a knowledge-based position. You have to have some level of knowledge, and they can tell you what to do to gain that knowledge so you could be in that field. 3-4 months, you could be in the CNC field, learning the basic stuff and getting it going. And it's a great field to be in as a career choice. Not just passing through making a check, but as a career choice. You really feel like you accomplish something each day. And that's something you can feel worth something, and that's something worth doing. And that's it.
That's great. You said it, 3 to 4 months and you have a career path out in front of you. There's people who are spending 4, 6, 8 years looking for a career path. 4 months, 120 days. Just so everybody knows, 120 days, career path set. Go after it. And as Jeffrey said, you get a bunch of new kids and grandkids. They may be metal and plastic at times, but that's fine. That's fine.
Right.
All right, Jeffrey. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. And a huge thank you to everybody who's listening. Please continue to be a part of the Proud Skill Worker, whether you're subscribed on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, any of those places. Continue to do that. Reach out if you want to be a guest on the show, if you have some input, whether it's on CNC, whether it's on the maintenance world, anything that's happening on the industrial maintenance floor, the maintenance floor in particular. Feel free to reach out to us. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great day.